Hi everyone, it's Guillaume from Startup Basecamp. Welcome to the Tech for Climate podcast. During the show, you will have the opportunity to meet the best climate tech founders, investors, and experts from both Silicon Valley and around the globe. They will share with you their stories and personal journeys into this growing and exciting industry, giving you some insight into the ecosystems that help you to take part in the fight against climate change and benefit from the opportunities it can represent. The podcast is divided in two small interviews. So in the first part, you will get to know our speakers, their perspectives on the climate crisis and how climate tech is changing the game. The second part of the discussion will be for members of our community who will learn the speakers' secret sauce on how to and share with you their unique expertise on topics such as fundraising, management, strategy, and so on, to help you to become a better leader in your field. So before we start, I would like to quickly share what we are doing at Startup Basecamp to support climate tech founders in accessing resources and gaining visibility with investors they seek. Our initiatives include a membership-based community platform offering access to a dedicated Slack group with a growing number of founders, experts, and investors from around the world, and a series of exclusive content such as interviews, weekly job listings, events, and our quarterly online pitch of night opportunity. But more than a place where you can learn, exchange, and grow, we are building a matchmaking service to facilitate connections between our members and top investors and experts in the field. And soon, alongside with other top investors, we will be launching a small fund to co-invest in the growth and acceleration of our members. Finally, all of this is possible because of your support and donations. We are a small self-funded team, and we want you to be part of this collective movement against climate change. So please share one episode with a friend and subscribe to the channels. As an added bonus, we will plant a tree for each of our subscribers each time we reach 1,000 new fans or donors. Do not hesitate to connect with me via social media or email guillaume@startupbasecamp. Thanks a lot for listening. I hope to get in touch with you soon. And now, let's go for the show. Hi everyone, during this new episode of our Founder Series, we are sitting down with Karolina Ling-Vannerus, founder and CEO at Circulate, a B2B marketplace for sustainable packaging and a purchasing tool for European SMEs. They aim to be your trustworthy partner in finding the very best packaging out there that is good for your needs, your budget, and the planet. I was super excited to speak with Karolina and learn more about her incredible story. Her beginnings as a consultant at McKinsey, a passion for freeskiing, nature, friends, and wine, and the successions of life experiences that led her to the launch of Circulate. With Karolina, you will discover the booming sustainable packaging landscape today, estimated at $100 billion plus in the European market only. You will learn how traditional packaging is contributing to 61% of plastic waste in the environment today, what's happening in the industry, and then we'll go deeper into Circulate unique solutions to help SME access better packaging alternatives and contribute to the fight of climate change. Finally, Karolina will share the next steps necessary to achieve their vision and how you can get involved in the process today. During the second part of the talk, Karolina will give her secret sauce for early stage founders looking to fundraise. Finally, she will share her own work-life balance tips for founders and her thought on the incredible role women are and will continue to have in the climate change fight. Karolina, welcome to the show. Hi, Karolina. Welcome to the Tech for Climate podcast. We're super happy and excited to have you here with us today. So before we start, can you give us a 30-second intro about Circulate?
Yeah, so thanks. It's great to be here. Circulate is a platform and a tool for companies to find the best packaging for their business and at the same time for the planet and evaluate different kinds of packaging. So we want to create an overview through a marketplace of the packaging market, but also guide buyers in the best way to make good choices.
Fantastic. So let's start by the top. Can you tell us a little bit more about your story and background? I mean, prior starting Circulate, maybe anything specific that is not public yet that you would like to share about you, what you like, what you don't like. I mean, who is Karolina?
Karolina, that's me. I am Swedish originally, but I grew up moving around the world with my family, back and forth. But mainly, my Sweden is my base. Went to business school in Stockholm School of Economics, and then kicked off my career fast into investment banking, but got convinced over to consulting at McKinsey for a few years. And then a few years of consulting ended up being quite many years until I got my first real job at a startup scale-up group of companies, the more kind of cowboy entrepreneurs, let's say, driven companies. When I came from the world of best practice into the world of no practice, and learned a great deal about entrepreneurship and founding, which I was amazed by, and the power of people, which you don't realize that much when you're on the consulting side. Good fun. Always try to juggle having an efficient work style and fun things to do doing work, because I'm a big fun lover, but while also being able to be flexible to pursue my different passions, which is always going to be outside of work. I'm a big free skier, and I love traveling to work to go skiing powder mountains everywhere. And in summer, I'm a big sailor. So anything with water in any consistency is my passion.
Excellent.
And just to travel and meet friends and drink wine is what I really like. And after this started scale up life, I at some point came to a conclusion that I'm a very, very engaged and dedicated person, and I put my soul into everything I do, realizing, I think it grew over time, that maybe I should really put this soul and energy and drive that I have into something that also is important. And obviously you can always argue what is important, but for me it's obviously about feeling that I contribute to the better good and solve real problems. And that's why my journey sort of into more impact kind of work started.
Do you have any maybe driver or this haha moment, that really pushed you to do that jump from, consulting and the different experience, and sure, your love for nature, but to really start Circulate? What was this haha moment where you say, okay, this is really, I want to put all of my soul and energy for that?
So I didn't wake up one morning and felt like, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, start this company, but it's actually a process been going for 3 years from my first thought. So it's been a long process of heavy analysis as well to find the right opportunity. But I think I always felt already from an early age that I'm privileged to be born into the part of the world that we are, and I'm privileged to be born without any constraints and fears. I'm completely fearless. So with that position, I always felt that I should use my voice to speak for those who can't, or who don't dare, and always engaged in working with inclusion in school and making sure that nobody's feeling left out. And then I also worked a lot, my early days in my career, I worked a lot with gender equality but also inclusiveness, more of different kind of personalities, that everybody cannot be everything at the same time. And we need to appreciate our differences rather than getting bothered by them. And then as the climate question has been rising more and more, and I've become more and more aware of where actually the damage we're causing to our planet and how utterly stupid a lot of things that we do are, that sort of sparked this bigger feeling of that I need to do something, and that I can't sit here and spend all my time and days working on this insignificant, let's say, but more insignificant things when we have so many more urgent problems to solve out there. But I think packaging is also something it's also something that's been growing the past years for a lot of us. Going to the recycling station one morning with lots and lots of packaging, you throw it away, and then 2 days later you have just as much again, and it's like it never ends up. It just fills up, and you just throw away this packaging that you've used it for a few minutes. while we also get bombarded with messages that we are consuming too much. The planet is not endless, and we need to think more responsibly around our resources. So it hasn't been an aha moment, rather than something that's really been growing over time. And I started to boil down into the packaging industry, started researching a lot how it works, getting to know it. There's a lot of really cool innovation, which excites me on the material side. To the extent that I ultimately decided to start focusing my job and start working as a consultant in the packaging industry to understand it even further, to know the players. And during that time, really narrowed down also what needs to be done in the industry. So unfortunately, there is no a long answer, but there is no aha moment. But it's been a sort of a path of narrowing down into what needs to be done and what can I do as well.
Okay, so probably this is a good segue as well to ask you a little bit more about, and you mentioned that in your previous answer here, like, can you give us a little bit like maybe the overview of the sustainable packaging landscape today? I mean, how is it evolving, and in a way, what is blocking or slowing it down? You mentioned those innovation and technology that are existing and alternatives to the traditional packaging in itself. So what needs to operate? I mean, what needs to happen to operate all of those change to help we as consumers, as companies, to consume less packaging or differently, and really contribute to reach this 2015 net zero goal?
I think it's really important to remember that packaging, the best packaging is no packaging at all, right? And packaging is a function. It's something that sort of protects and transports your product from one place to the other, or contains your product if it's a liquid product and so on, protects it. But packaging has a function. But for the past years and decades, we're more and more treating packaging as a transactional good. So I think we need to go back going back to functionality of packaging. And also I think that there's also, when it comes to sustainable packaging, we used to be very sustainable in packaging back in the days, but it's these past years with the plastic revolution and then the booming that has sort of, we've broken the system. So we need to go back to where we used to be when we were more economical in what we were using. For example, many countries had like milk bottle systems. You get a bottle with your milk, and then you hand back the empty bottle. So we used to be so much more circular in how we were working with packaging. And at some point, I know it would become too easy, accessible, and too cheap. And that's when we started these transactional single-use packagings instead. And I think the market can also be split into, if we just look at sustainable packaging, what is sustainable packaging? A lot of sustainable packaging is no new innovation. It's paper, it's cardboard, it's recycled fibers, wrappers, and so on. And that market has been there for quite a great while, and it's big. And I think, for example, the green packaging market in Europe is estimated to be $100 billion already in 2019. And then obviously you have to understand what is the green one, but it's a huge market and it's growing like crazy. And then it's also about thinking, should it be growing? Because once again, the best packaging is no packaging. So volume-wise, it should not be growing, but as we reduce the amount of packaging, we could spend more money on the packaging we actually do need to use and make sure that one is better, both how it's sourced, but also in the features and how it protects and the product and smart packaging and so on. I think if we just look at some scary figures here, but the problem with packaging is obviously the resources that we consume, and that we are consuming 3 times the resources that the planet has. And those resources should be spent where we really value it the most. And I don't think any of us, if we had to choose, if we had to get rid of a third of the stuff that we consume, I think packaging would probably be one of the things that we could live without, that we think is least important in many cases. So, but that's sort of the climate change question. But then we also have the huge problem with packaging waste, filling up our oceans, filling up animal species, and our full ecosystems breaking down. And just in Europe, we see approximately 170 kilos of packaging waste per capita, which is huge, because if you think of packaging, it's quite lightweight, so it's a lot of packaging. And 61% of plastic waste is all the plastic waste in nature is also is packaging waste. So it's really, packaging is really a big issue that we need to solve. And still we see that the plastic use is increasing in Europe as well. You would think that the past years now a lot of things happening, but plastic is still increasing. So that's something I really want. I said I want to spread here now, that we think that we're using less and less, but that's not the case. We're still on a way up, which we definitely need to stop ASAP. Because you have to think of that, like the average plastic is used for a few minutes. Average plastic bag, I think, is like 12 minutes lifetime. It takes 1,000 years to decompose. So it's yeah, we have to be more mindful with this kind of what is sustainable packaging and how we use it. And yeah, I think in this innovation of this field now, because plastic as material per se is not that bad, it's just how we use it in our system. So I think we're going to see this is one of the industries that's going to be the most disruptive the coming decade, both on sort of what materials we use in our packaging and how we innovate with new materials, making plastics out of agriculture waste, cornstarch, all these fantastic biomaterials, but also how we use more circular systems of packaging. Because in a perfect circular closed system, you want the packaging to last as long as possible. And if plastic then lasts 1,000 years, that's amazing. But the problem is when our circular systems are leaking and the packaging for some reason ends up in nature, then you don't want it to last for 1,000 years. Then you rather want it to decompose in a year. So that's sort of, depending on how our infrastructure grows here, that sort of defines also what is sustainable packaging and what is that market, which I think is so exciting to be part of this change.
Definitely. But do you see any area where, because clearly with the boom of e-commerce as of today, I mean, the amount of cardboard box, and we always, or at least I always believe that, okay, cardboard is one of the few packaging things that can be recycled or at least re-injected into the circuit after my use. But do you see other area, thanks to the new technology today, that can really have a strong impact, and where you guys as Circulate wants to also help and push, or is still very fragmented today? What is blocking to go, if that technology is existing, to go more mainstream?
You mean what kind of packaging product or in what industry?
I would say packaging product as of today.
No, and I think it's quite hard to predict the future here. And if I also Circulate, we just want to be part of accelerating whatever change is coming. I think it would also very much depend on local infrastructure, and that's also the case today. That some packaging is super sustainable on paper if you recycle it, and in some countries, the actual recycling rates. Cardboard is always recyclable in countries, but you have to look at the actual recycled rate of what actually is recycled and how many facilities and the volumes it can handle. But in most countries, cardboard will be highly recycled, up to 7 times maximum. In other countries now, we see this new compostable packaging coming, which is great, and that's also, but that's also a jungle where as a consumer you need to figure out if it's home compostable. That means you can basically put it in your garden compost, or also do grades in the forest and in nature. But if it's industrially compostable, it means that your local municipality needs to collect industrially compostable goods and compost them in this facility for it. And the majority of countries don't have that. So that's also, I think it's really hard to navigate which product it's actually revolutionizing and great for the future for you and your business, depending on where you are, where you're operating, and to what country you're sort of shipping out your packaging to, because every country has invested in different kinds of recycling and reusing systems. So it's quite hard to say, but I think any packaging for the future, what I'm really excited about to see is any packaging that is made of a waste product. So not only that it's not made of virgin material or recycling material, but it's actually made of a waste product. So for example, if you manage to do the pasta packaging out of the old pasta water, or if you manage to do the cereal packaging out of the old cereal agricultural wastes that you would throw away anyway. So those kind of packaging, where the packaging is secondary to the product and it's made of the secondary raw material to the product. I think those ones are really, really exciting innovations to see.
Thank you.
That answered your question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very large question. It's a very large landscape, and I think you already gave us like a lot of different hints to understand better that ecosystem as of today. And clearly, it's clearly a place where actors and innovators needs to move on, and it's moving on. So that's exciting, but the problem is humongous. So let's go maybe a little bit deeper now into Circulate, try to understand the story behind it. How long did it take you guys to put the first platform prototype together? And what are the initial packaging and services that you're offering today?
Yeah, so working with this industry, I realized that, okay, I want to speed up the change to more sustainable packaging practices. It's not only more sustainable packaging, but how we use packaging. And the first step, obviously, now is to help companies reduce packaging in general and make sure that the packaging we do use has a little environmental effect as possible, both in how it's being produced, but then also when it's handled logistically and the disposability in it. And as the world's infrastructure looks now, it's a lot about sort of still single-use linear packaging, but that is more sort of biodegradable, compostable, has low environmental impact. But in the near future, we really want to contribute to building these circular packaging systems and infrastructures. And what I found when I tried to figure out why is this change in the packaging industry happening so slow, some of the main issues that I found was basically that it's an extremely fragmented, intransparent market from the supply side. And there's this huge knowledge gap between buyers and sellers. So to sum that up, it's just extremely complicated for medium and small sized buyers to buy packaging and to understand it. I think on just what I've been talking about now, it's sort of, there's so many layers to packaging that you need to be aware of. And packaging is not core to your business. If you're a small, medium-sized company, packaging is not core to your business. So you have a packaging, you usually switch it every 2 to 3 years, maybe, which means that unless you're a huge group of company has a lot of product, you can't have somebody working full-time on packaging. So it ends up being somebody else in the company that needs to source and review the packaging, a person that doesn't have the knowledge, nor the interest, nor the time to really dig into these questions. So the buy side needs a lot of guidance in this to understand what is the best packaging for my business, what criteria does my packaging actually need to fulfill? Does it need to be food approved? Does it need to be liquid proof, or can it be compostable, biodegradable? What does these different things mean? To really understand what you need, and then also to create an overview of the market to see, okay, what is actually out there and available to me. And what we see there is that the packaging industry is extremely behind on digitalization. So it's really hard to find the packaging providers and compare them out there because they're very analog still. So our mission here is to really initially now start creating an overview of the packaging market and make sure that all the good packaging alternatives of tomorrow are seen and get better exposure, so that these good guys get a boost and take over and replace all the bad alternatives out there as fast as possible. And while we sort of create this overview of the market and what's available, we also help the buyer, and we are this unbiased third party here to really define which is the best one for you, and everything else alike, which of these packaging has less environmental impact than the other, where we are developing a sustainability index to put on all the products, which is not only looking at carbon footprint, nor only looking at what it's made of, but we try to have a holistic sustainability view here and make sure that the impact is sort of as well rounded as possible here. Because when it comes to sustainability, a lot of times you clean up in one area and then make sure you have the lowest carbon footprint as possible, but then sort of shit bubbles up in another area because you optimized one thing and then you could really pour something else. So we really want to have a holistic view on this. So we launched our initial platform this spring in May, where we together with a bunch of partner vendors that we have collaborations with, buyers can submit the request of what they need, and then together with our partner vendors, we find the best option for them. And right now we are in any day now we are launching the next step of this service, which is basically a more visible marketplace when you see more like a web shop when we can search and filter and compare different alternatives from our different vendors in a neat way. And then the next step for us is to also work with a little basic intelligence. We call him Paco. Paco is a guide, and they will ask you a lot of questions and better sort of help you to pinpoint down what are your packaging needs and what should you be searching for when you in the next step look in the marketplace.
Okay, so can you walk us like in the existing or future, I would say, buyer process or user experience on the platform? The idea is like I create my account, I have my company, and I will, based on the different needs of my product or service that I need, I will therefore be able to choose within a variety of suppliers. Is that as simple as that, or you guys are still doing like a lot of like manual work behind that? And I would say, is it more like a model like drop shipping, or are you planning to take into account the whole logistic aspect of it, or is more like a marketplace, so really like connecting, and then the vendors in a way will ship to the buyers automatically based on the purchase order?
So obviously it's a journey, and everything is not in place from day one. But if you sort of look at what we aim Circulate to be, it's to be from buyer side, it's to be your own packaging partner or packaging manager, almost handling and digitalizing it and making more efficient everything packaging. So from the fact that you come into the site, you use our friend Paco to define what packaging you need, and usually you have a lot of different packagings. Our target customer has a packaging spend of around, on average, 100,000 euros per year, but it could be more. But our target group is our companies that don't have their own packaging manager, basically. So help you pinpoint your packaging needs, but also help you with new innovative ideas here on how you could reduce your packaging. And when we have that, we go to the next step, which is exploring and find and compare suitable options, including the sustainability ranking here, and really focus on decision support. So we know if we know that when you make decisions, you make it on these parameters, that's what needs to be visible there. And we really want to translate the packaging lingo on our platform to make it accessible lingo for us, the average people, to understand and make it efficient. And then when it comes to the purchasing process, instead of having to manage different vendors, that takes a lot of time for you, or going to a wholesaler that might not have exactly what you're looking for. Through Buying to Circulate, you can sort of pick out the best from every category from different vendors, but still just have one interface with one-stop shop, one purchasing process, where we also want to help with financing, bridging liquidity issues, which is also a big thing in packaging, with to be able to pay upfront for 6 months worth of packaging is super big strain on liquidity. So helping out with financing and payment terms, and then make it easy to track your order, track the production, receive and approve the packaging. As odd as it may seem, it's actually frightening how seldom it is that the packaging you receive actually lives up to expectation of what you ordered in the industry. So there we also hope to be able, over time, make sure that what you receive is actually what you wanted. And then this is sort of packaging is a refill loop. So make it so working with automated supply chains. I really believe in sort of the industry 4.0, or whatever you want to call it, but in the future, that, for example, especially for restocking, your systems know that now we got this big order on these products, we're low on the packaging, placing an order automatically to the vendors through our platform. Or use a buyer just integrate to us, and we then integrate to all the different vendors. And then I think over time, what's important also, I'll go with the platform, is if you buy everything to Circulate, we know what packaging you're using and the volume, so we can track your packaging usage and therefore also help you calculate your environmental impact of it, the environmental improvements you've done over time, and also for a lot of new upcoming legislations now forcing companies to report their packaging to government and to EU. You can export our reports there, and so we can continuously help you sort of have this overview and track it, but also give you advice on what packaging you could switch. So hey, Guillaume, has your packaging used the past 6 months? It has this environmental impact. What if you switch this and that one to these two instead? You can improve it even further. So,
it's the full circle. I think that's exciting. But maybe I'll step back a little bit and I'll ask you a little bit more about like how do you select those vendors? Like how do you source them and how do you evaluate them? I mean, did you build like your own internal framework? I guess I mean you're doing the job that a lot of SMEs should probably do but don't have the resource for. So how do you in a way guarantee as of today, and maybe it will evolve in the future, to provide them like the best view on what is the best for the planet, and that is matching their needs in terms of as you mentioned, waterproof or something like health-wise, respecting the different criteria in place today. So how do you do that?
No, and that's really important, because that is our biggest value proposition, right? That we take away this headache from the buyers, and we're vetting these vendors. So we find the vendors that we think are sort of part of the solution, the packaging of tomorrow, and then we have one of the most important teams that we have is our sort of materials expert team, where they for every product so they both vet the vendor, that the vendor is sort of has sustainable, responsible practices and operations, but then every product is screened to a very rigorous set of sort of sustainability criteria, so that all the products on our platform you can be sure are meeting a certain bar, and that everything on our platform is the better alternative. And then obviously I hope that where our bar is now, that we will raise the bar every year. So we're driving this change, but we have this minimum criteria that the materials team have defined, and that we screen all the products. And then the vendor, we get to know, okay, out of your 50 products, only these 20 actually made it on the platform. And what was really exciting, what I think is really exciting so far, and what I didn't expect, is that vendors get very excited of getting their products screened and getting to know that, 30 of my products don't make it. Why? What can I change with these products? And get advice from our materials team then on how they can change this specific kind of ingredient or glue or whatever color they're printing with, and actually improve the sustainability of their product. So we can also drive an overall improvement in the market in this term. And then once they're on the platform, we also so they meet the bar, and what you can also be confident is that all products on our platform is compliant with all upcoming EU regulations. There's a lot the coming years now. There's so many new directives, regulations that you sort of, as a packaging buyer, just getting on top of those, understanding what it actually means, it's a nightmare. So buying through us, you can be sure that everything is compliant. So that's also what we need to make sure, that when new regulations come, that we rescreen products to make sure they're still compliant. And then once they're on the platform and made on the platform, we also have the sustainability index, as I said, where you can compare products. They're all good, but they can be good, better, and best from an environmental perspective. And there as well, it's also a little bit about what are you going to do with the product. So are you going to ship this item really, really far away? Then maybe it's better with a more logistically efficient e-commerce bag made of Brazilian sugarcane. But if you're not shipping it so far, maybe a recycled box of local, in my case, maybe Swedish recycled cardboard is a better choice. So that's also what we want guiding. But the vetting is really important. And in addition to our initial screening of products and vendors, we also want to make it 100% transparent to be able to review the products and vendors, so have solid reviews here. And something that's really important in our credibility is that no vendor can buy themselves a better rating or a better visibility on a platform compared to other marketplaces. We're neutral and fact-based in this.
And I understand that this trust and in a way certification or trust of your certification or like your own rating is something very important. And are you guys using or planning to collaborate with external organization, maybe NGOs or maybe labs or scientists to also in a way review your validation, or is something that is not in the planning as of today, and maybe in the future will be?
No, definitely, and we already do. So we obviously have our great team with material chemists and engineers and sustainability, but we are working with a number of different both NGOs, but also consultancies and research consultancies in this field to make sure that what we develop is state of the art, but also to be humble and know that it's a really hard sort of question to ask, like what is sustainable packaging. There's no clear answer to that, and so that's also where we need to be humble and say, okay, but based on what is available to us today and based on what we can look at today, this is our conclusion that this one is actually better than this one. But as data improves, as traceability and sourcing improves, the models can become more and more precise. But that's also why it's important to collaborate with these other ones, and there are quite a few already existing indices as well that we are looking to now to collaborate with or integrate in as well. So not reinventing the wheel, but build on existing science.
Yeah, I mean, avoiding at any cost, I think greenwashing is it's super important, especially on the trust of the consumer, and I guess it will be also like a marketing tool that your buyers would probably use to their own client base as well, saying that we are doing a better choice today by using this kind of packaging. So tell me a bit more. Definitely. Tell me a little bit more about the economics of it, because I mean, I was reading the book of Bill Gates, and he keep mentioning about this green premium. Do you see like a huge difference in between like more sustainable packaging that you guys are proposing to your buyers and traditional packaging? What is this green premium as of today? And do you think that by increasing, in a way, the amount of volumes, you will be able to reduce that green premium for the buyers?
I think it's so hard to say in this case, because if you look at, for example, cardboard and boxes, that's something that's been existing for ages, and that's not particularly expensive. So it sort of you have to define in what niche you go into, and maybe if somebody's innovating it, we have some of our vendors are producing packaging from seagrass, for example, and these things. And obviously, you need to reach an industrial scale in any business to become competitive in price. But I think what excites me a lot when I started on this mission was to see how many great high-performing packaging alternatives out there that are competitive not only on performance and on looks and feels, but also on pricing. And that's sort of when I decided that no, I don't need to get out here and start a new packaging company. I just want to make sure that if we just apply all the ones available now, how big of a change can we do then? So I don't think there's a particular green price premium that you can say in all cases. I think there might be an innovation premium with all new innovative products. They're usually more expensive in the beginning, but the ones that come further, in many cases it's even cheaper, especially if you start using waste material and in these kind of raw material that doesn't have a high price. But what I'm most excited about here is obviously that if you buy a face cream today in a pump, it comes in a pump in a cardboard box with a plastic film around it, and then you buy it online, so it also comes in a shipping box with lots of fillers around it. So basically there's 5 items of packaging for this cream, and the cream ingredient itself is super cheap. It's just basic chemicals. So usually it's like the packaging is so much more expensive than the cream here. What if you reduce those packaging to 2 or half? Then you could spend so much more money on the actual pump instead. So do we really need to have the pump in the box with the plastic film around it, or can we just have the pump and sell it as it is? So I think also there companies need to reconsider where do you spend the money and make it sort of worth, where it's more worth to spend the money in these industries. And hopefully also that's something that Circulate can contribute with, is to get these new innovations a faster commercialization journey and bigger volume, so that they faster can also become competitive in those cases.
So in terms of like economics and business model, like how do you see the business model evolving for Circulate? I mean, you mentioned today prior to the interview that you guys were more like in a MVP stage right now, validating the demand there. But what is the business model, and how do you, I mean, see your margin evolving in the future?
So our base sort of model is to take a percentage commission on the sales from a vendor. So we don't compete with vendors on sales channels, but we want to be a complementing sales channel to them. So they have their own direct sales to the big customers and so on, but through Circulate they get an additional high-performing digital sales channel, reach markets they wouldn't reach otherwise, but also a great way for them to serve long tail of customers that they can't really afford to serve with higher service grade. So and in this case, we charge a commission on the sales, which can range from a lower percentage for more volume products and high percentage for more sort of low volume, high margin products. And then in addition, we offer lots of value adding services. So first of all, obviously financing solutions, both on the sell side and the buy side for liquidity. And on the sell side, everything that has to do with helping them grow. So growth hacking, SEO analytics, helping them write better product descriptions, giving insights and recommendations there, but also recommendations on how they should improve their offering going forward. So saying that, okay, your product has been shown in the 200 searches this past month, but nobody's been choosing that. Should we figure out why? Should we see that people tend to choose more and more this kind of packaging. Should you grow your offering towards that instead? So it's also recommend them anything we can do to help them grow, basically. And on the buy side, value-added services are all about helping you find the best packaging. So hiring, if you do big packaging review, maybe you want to have a outsourced packaging manager for a few months' time, and we can do that for you. Be your personal packaging shopper, packaging designer, but also everything that has to do with looking over your packaging environmental impact. So extracting these reports, but then also analyzing them and translating them into your sustainability reporting, and help you with what improvements you can be done and so on going forward.
So can you tell us a bit more about the competition today for Circulate? I mean, is there any like direct competitors, or maybe I would say indirect competitors in the EU and the US, and maybe why are you guys different and maybe better?
So I think in terms of having this unbiased third-party platform guiding you, there is no such thing, but that doesn't mean there's no competition, because I think that's what companies a lot of times do wrong. That's like, if you can't find anybody exactly does the same thing as you, there is no competition. But obviously people are buying packaging today. So how are they buying it and where are they buying it? That is our competition. So the biggest competition today, I would say, are packaging resellers that are serving these customers directly, where our goal is to collaborate with these resellers. Our competition is also sort of our partners. So instead of the resellers serving the long tail of customers, which is expensive for them, because the small customers need so much more guidance than the big ones. But since they're smaller, they can't give them as much guidance they need. So there's a lot of friction between these guys today, because it's not really working out from neither of the buyer or sell side is happy with this relationship. So hopefully we can, through Circulate, take over that process from them as a collaborating partner to them, rather than competition, if you would say that. So that's on the sell side. So any packaging wholesalers or resellers. There are a few marketplaces growing up now as well. So obviously Alibaba and we have Stora Enso as a great initiative of Box Inc. as well. So there are a few of them growing, and I think there's room for everyone. But I think they are more niche in one field or two, whereas we really want to take this stance as this sort of third-party, unbiased, sustainability-focused place to go to. In this case, and we focus on these mid-size customers as well.
Okay.
And then on the vendor side, I think the competition is that they build their own in-house digital sales channel and make that better, or that they work with agencies and so on to get their sort of sales improving, which I've had plenty of time to do, but they don't really seem to get there. So.
Okay, so just to finalize, to wrap up a little bit here, you mentioned this $100 billion market opportunity in terms of the packaging industry. So how much do you think you guys can capture, and what are the steps in a way to for you to reach the full scale of the operation of Circulate? I mean, what how and when do you see Circulate becoming like out of this initial stage more mature and really like the go-to places for buyers and vendors in a way?
And so it's the green packaging market, $100 billion in 2019. It's huge. So it feels a bit stupid to say that we could take 0.01% of the market. Like, it's insignificant. So the market is so large and so fragmented that hopefully we come in and we can take good share of it. And for us, it's all about creating value to both buyers and vendors to want to use it. So the first years now, it's all about just creating usage of the platform, get people in, get them to use it, them to love it, and also work, because we're on the same mission here. Is basically on the vendors. For us, it's about they need to help us help them become successful, because if they are successful, we are successful, and the whole world is successful because it's good for everyone. So working a lot with both the vendors and the buyers to understand what do you need to speed up the process to more sustainable packaging. What is hindering it, and constantly work together with them, learning this journey as we go. But ideally, become the go-to place in such a large and fragmented market. There's never going to be, I doubt it, there's going to be one place to rule them all. There's probably going to be several ways to get packaging, but within our niche of small, medium-sized buyers that want to digitalize the whole process and don't want to engage too much in too complicated, the packaging is not sort of their biggest passion. I think we could take a significant share of this market, and we really want to become the go-to place for buying packaging, just because it's so ridiculously easy. So you use Circulate, even though you don't care about sustainability, you use Circulate as your packaging platform because it makes your life easier. And then it just so happens that on our platform, everything also happens to be the better choice of tomorrow.
That's exciting. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. So how is the community of listeners today can help you to reach that vision?
I think first thing is just we want to put the spotlight on all the great packaging of tomorrow. So bombard us with any cool packaging you've seen, any good packaging company you've heard of, old or new. They could have been around forever, but tell us about them, and either they want to reach out to us or tell us about them, we reach out to them, because we want to make sure that there's such an incredible choice of sustainable packaging on our platform that there cannot be an excuse that the reason your business is not switching to sustainable packaging is not because you couldn't find any good options. Like, there should be so many good options. We just need to go and get them. So I think that was the most important part. And then obviously on the buy side, tell us about your packaging needs, but also our role is also a lot about educating the market and create sort of easy transparency in what things mean. So what kind of knowledge content would you want? If you're struggling with understanding the difference of compostable and biodegradable, blah, 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 like, tell us and we can write something about it in a clear way. So that's also something that we really want to make more accessible to people that are short in interest and time, to still be able to understand the different layers of complexity in this market.
Thank you so much. So any question that I did not ask you that I should have for this first part of the interview?
I don't know. I think we covered it all.
So thank you so much. It was a pleasure.